Putnam County Library. It is very rare that we have this, never actually, that we have this many people at a Library Board of Trustees meeting, so it's great to be popular. But please do be patient with us as we try and navigate and accommodate this many people who are so super interested in the library. So again, we're excited about it, but we do also have business to take care of. I guess that probably you all are here based on some challenges that you've heard about or talked about or seen that have been presented to the library through Luke Eldridge. And I want to tell you all before we get started that Luke and I have been talking and meeting, and we've been in discussion since the beginning of June. Yes. The books weren't formally challenged until the end of July, at which point we began discussing even differently but more about the books. And I will say that every single book that has sexually explicit material has been or will be moved to the adult section. So that has always been and is the plan we have in place. As well, we have a lot of really great professional librarians on staff here at the library, and we're working together to get a more expedient and efficient system to vet those materials before we put them on the shelf, which I know might sound kind of easy to you to do. However, we have tens of thousands of books on the shelves at the Putnam County Library, millions of pages. And so we're going to work, the professional librarians are all working to figure out a more efficient system to make sure that we more appropriately place those types of materials. So again, I just wanted to say that before we got started. Luke is here. Someone kindly stepped out so that he could speak, because I do feel like most of you are here to hear him speak. And I also wanted to go ahead and introduce the people at this table. Probably you all don't know all of the people here. This is our Library Board of Trustees, our regional library representative, and then our library staff. Our Library Board of Trustees is made up of citizens that are, I say that they're the most highly qualified library staff in the state of Tennessee. I think we have the best one, and I will say, based on that, that Brian Payne actually was recently promoted to colonel. So we're very excited about that. We have a colonel on our board. So Brian Payne, he's working as chair today. He is the vice chair of the library board, but Harry Engel, our chair, could not be here today. Then Matt Kirby is our regional library representative. Danny Rader, Drew Binkley, Pat Phillips, and Cindy Putman. And these are our Library Board of Trustees and our regional library representative. And then the library staff is here. This is Brian Page. He's our IT director here at the library system. Carol Teeter, she's our children's librarian here in Cookeville. Spencer Trout is the adult services librarian here in Cookeville. And then my name is Catherine Weisinger. I'm the director here at the library. So again, thank you so much. Your presence means a lot. It's an investment in the library, and we really appreciate it. So, okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Catherine. Okay, I have 1630. I'm sorry, wrong meeting. I have 4:33. We do have a quorum, so I call this meeting to order. So, like Catherine said, I do want to welcome everyone that's here tonight. Obviously, there's a lot more interest in tonight's board meeting than we normally have, but I appreciate you all being here and taking an interest in this library. As Catherine said, I'm the vice chair, Brian Payne. I'm acting chair tonight in place of Mr. Engel, who could not attend. I do want to recognize that we do have Cookeville Vice Mayor Luke Eldridge here. We've got County Clerk Wayne Neighbors, County Commissioner Vincent Vincento. I appreciate you all being here and your ongoing support for this library and its mission to support all of Putnam County citizens. While I've got such a large audience, I do want to take just a quick second to make a plug for the library. I encourage everybody here to be an active user. If you don't already, go out there and get a library card. And just like everyone's here tonight, I invite you to attend all of the events that this library puts on. Dr. Weisinger and her team have done an outstanding job with programming that meets all different age groups. We're talking the book clubs, genealogy classes, there are technology classes for adults and seniors, the memory lab, And I know my dad and nephew just attended, I think a month or two ago, the Bigfoot seminar. So there's all kinds of great things this library puts on, and I encourage everybody here to be a part of that, just like you are this evening. Again, we appreciate you being here. We look forward to a robust discussion here in our public comment section, which I think is item 4 on our agenda. When we get to that, I will just very quickly at the beginning lay out our standard operating procedures, which are intended just to make sure that there is time for everybody who wishes to speak to be able to do so. And I want to emphasize that we welcome everyone here who wants to address the board to have that opportunity. So with that, unless there's any other opening comments?
I'll just echo that, for my part, thank you all for being here. Thank you all for your interest in the library, whatever side of any issue you're on. I want to echo what Dr. Weisinger said. I've personally also spent a fair amount of time speaking with Vice Mayor Eldridge about some of his concerns, and had a really productive dialogue with him about ways to try to address and solve these problems, and not just these particular books or these particular passages that are concerning, but going forward, a policy to try and ensure, like Dr. Weisinger said, to ensure that everything here is properly vetted. I think it's important that everybody know, to the extent that you don't know, that there are no graphic or explicit sexual passages in any of the books in the children's library. What we're talking about here are some young adult books and young adult section. Those are children, and we take that seriously here, but there is a difference between those two sections. In addition, the books that were in the young adult section, even those that have been moved to the adult section, those are all categorized and recommended by the publishers and the services that librarians use to determine the collection. Those are recommended for the individuals in those age groups. So that's not something that this library ignored. And the comments that are at issue, and some of them are very concerning to me, and I know Vice Mayor Eldridge knows that. Many of the passages, though, are, a few sentences or a paragraph in a large book, or some even several hundred pages. So it's not as if all of the books themselves are entirely sexual in nature, but like so many things in our society today, there are references to sex. That's not okay with me here at the Putnam County Library. Children are exposed to it on TV, they're exposed to it on video games, they're exposed to it in the movies, they're exposed to it all around. But I think, I feel strongly that most of the people here in the library believe that it's more important for the library to promote literacy and to promote the access to materials for parents to decide for their children, for those families to be able to make the decision as to what they want their families to be exposed to. But the library doesn't want to do anything to make that decision for families. And to that end, as I think Dr. Weisinger's been fairly clear, and you've got 2 lawyers on this board, we don't support the banning of books, and I don't think that anybody here is asking for the banning of books. And I know I've had a lot of conversations with Vice Mayor Eldridge, and I don't believe he's interested in that either. So those of you who are here that are concerned about that, I don't think that's what anybody's trying to accomplish here. As Dr. Weisinger also said, there are tens of thousands of books now at the library, but those get circulated, and we buy how many thousand books a year? 8 to 10,000 books a year. So that's millions of pages that we circulate each and every year. And of course, our library staff is very professional, but they can't read millions of pages, and they have to rely on the resources that libraries and library staff use all over the country to help determine what should go in the circulation. That said, as Vice Mayor Eldridge just pointed out, there's some things that have slipped through that are not okay with us, at least in the young adult section. And so we're working to try and work on a process to try to vet those and to try to advance this and use some tools that didn't even exist a long time ago, such as AI and some other things like that. But that's a process that the board is working through with Dr. Weisinger and her staff. This is not on the agenda tonight. None of this is on the agenda tonight, but we obviously have a lot of interest. I'm like Dr. Weisinger, I've been on the board a number of years, and I don't remember more than one or two people ever coming to a board meeting. So we're going to continue to work on that. Even though under our written policy, this is the library director's issue and her responsibility, subject to an appeal if a complainant is dissatisfied with the result. The board is very interested in it, and the board's been very active to try to work with our staff to try to be sure that this is an appropriate place for all people and all families, and to give access to the materials that are available and in the appropriate location. So those of you who go to other government meetings, city council meetings, county commission meetings, I'm sure you know that generally the boards do not interact with the public comment. That's an opportunity for citizens to make their comments and their message known to the board, but it's not an interactive dialogue. And so normally I wouldn't say anything, but I do want to respect and appreciate everybody being here and everybody having what I know to be very sincere views on very difficult issues. So that's my 2 cents to add, since we're giving preambles today.
Short preamble as well. Again, I would like to welcome our newly promoted colonel to the board. This is our first meeting since his promotion. I could not help but notice that on the front page of the Herald Citizen. I don't know how many active colonels we have in Cookeville, but we we'll appreciate your service and the accomplishments that he's well deserved. And I certainly echo what Mr. Rader just passed along. And I will say that we're a community, and there are, we just said 8,000 books coming through a year, and that's millions of pages. And I know our library is diligent in the materials that are within the library, but at the same time, we have a process in place so that members of the community can speak out. And I'm looking forward and thankful for you all coming here today to speak out. So that's part of the process as well. We are a small community, and I appreciate you all coming out.
Can you double this up? Thank you all so much for being here.
All right. Item 2, approval of the minutes.
I move to approve the minutes.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Minutes are approved. Item 3, approval of treasurer's report.
Do you all have any questions about the treasurer's report? This is finishing out this school year, 24-25. The actuals for the upcoming year haven't been put in yet, but we have those, so we'll have those for the next year.
We normally talk about this a little bit more, but in the interest of time, Dr. Weisinger sent this out ahead of time. I move to approve the treasurer's report so we don't waste much time on it.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor? All right, report approved. Item 4. We're all here for public comment.
Brian, do you want me to keep time on the phone?
Please, I was going to ask you to do that.
Yeah.
So our situation, because we only have maybe one person in attendance, but ask each person first to introduce yourself and to spell your name so Carol can grab that for the minutes. And then a time limit of 3 minutes per individual in order to allow time for everyone who wishes to do so to present to the board here. In terms of the order, again, normally this is never an issue. As the chair, I would like to initially defer to our elected representatives who are here if they wish to go first. Otherwise, we'll start recognizing people as they wish.
I'll let you go last just so I can hear it.
Okay, absolutely.
I'll start us off.
Sure.
Name's Vinny Vicento, F-A-C-C-I-N-T-O. I'm the county commissioner in the 5th district. My purpose here is much like Luke, back in June we got this information. I want to commend Catherine. We've had hours of discussions on the phone as well through all of this. I think you guys have handled it professionally. I think you've done an excellent job. And I think it's going to be a reasonable solution. The county commission, for those of you that know, does appoint one library trustee board member as the term expires. I think we have one coming up here relatively soon. So it will be the first library appointee from the time that I've been on the commission. And I would have gotten a little bit more involved because I like to know the people that we're doing. So I knew Danny was on, but the rest of you, I'm getting to meet, so I appreciate you. The material that we got here to review, it was almost shocking to me when I first got it. It was very surprising to me that this kind of material would not only be in a public library. I started out using AI like Danny did, suggested, and went in, and interestingly enough, as I was trying to pull reviews on some of these things, I would get blocked by ChatGPT that would tell me that this is sexually explicit material, and they were not allowed to show me a review on it, which was very surprising to me. The second thing is the word young adult was a little bit surprising. Most of us, at least myself, when I think of a young adult, I think 18 to 25. In the library world, it's 12 to 17. So that put a little bit of a different spin when I was reading the content. There was two books in particular, and I'm not going to go into the graphic details of them because I don't think it's necessary. But for those of you that are here, if you've not reviewed this material, even just excerpts, I think you'll find, irregardless of what side of a political aisle you're on, whether you choose an LGBTQ lifestyle, a heterosexual lifestyle, that you would not feel appropriate to have this read by a 12-year-old. I can tell you through some experience with law enforcement that if I were to take one of these books and sit down with a group of Boy Scouts that were 14 and I decided to read this material to them, I would be in danger of being arrested for child pornography. And it's that level of material. So this is not like, oh, we don't, like this title or we don't like this. It was something that just felt like it needed to be in an adult section, plain and simple. Catherine worked with us very diligently on, she's like, well, we can't randomly do it. Thankfully, Luke took the ran and did the 50 pages worth of research. We collaborated together. My interest is making sure that we have our next board member, when they submit the name, that would, share the majority of the values that we have here in Putnam County. So I thank you, Catherine. I thank the board. I think you guys have done an excellent job handling this. I'm glad to see the turnout, that there are a lot of people here, but I think you're going to see that that contrary to popular belief, or sometimes what you read in the newspaper around here, that the majority of us are going to find common ground on issues. We might not agree on every issue, but I think we've got a group that can work together and come up with adult solutions to difficult problems. So, thank you.
All right, Mr. Neighbors, do you have anything?
Colonel, if I may, take the same position as Mr. Eldridge and just defer to a little bit later on, please, sir.
All right. Next. Gentlemen.
Hi, my name is Bruce Martin. I'm a resident of Putnam County. I spent 37 years with the Illinois County Sheriff's Department. My last 16 years was as a homicide investigator. Prior to that, I worked family crimes. And the material in here that I read, just to reiterate, if I filed with a district attorney, I could easily get a conviction. And how something like that got on the shelf and slipped through the cracks, I feel not to push it, but somebody needs to be held accountable. Because somebody knew when they placed that book on the shelf, they knew what was in that book. And it seems like everybody here is just sugarcoating it and saying, well, we're working, we're fixing it. But it should have never wound up there. And unless somebody is held accountable, it's going to happen again. And that's just my thoughts on it. I think a lot of people here feel the same. Thank you.
I would like to read some of the stuff that are in these.
Can you say your name?
David Funk, okay. I would like to read some of the stuff that's in these books, and it's not sporadic, guys. It is rife in our library. It is full of this. This doesn't sink into you. He puts his hand on my chest and he runs it down my stomach, and then he pauses, waiting me to say something. I don't. His hands go further down in my sleeping bag. I guess as he starts stroking me, I'm already hard. I've been since the moment I heard him take off his shorts. I nod and kiss him again. Relax, he says. He unzips my sleeping bag and starts kissing me down my neck until my mouth finds what he is looking for. And oh, my first blowjob. That's happening now. I look down and just the sight of Hudson doing what he's doing is enough to almost make me involuntarily end it prematurely. It's not like it was in the shower. It's far different from that. It's much better. Should I do something though? Do I put my hand behind his head? Or does that mean I want him to go deeper? I don't want him to do anything he doesn't want to do, so I lay on his head like a panting dog. No, this is not how it happens in porn. I grab his hair with both my hands, and it goes on, and I just happen to have some more. So what do you think? You like? What do you like? He says. What sounds well and good, but I experienced it for the first time, so how do I exactly know what's like? I'm not sure how to do this, so I just open my mouth as far and wide as I can. I look like a fish. So sexy, Randy. I'm surprised by the taste. I thought it would be dirt tasting and an uncomfortable smell, but it tastes and smells like the crook of his neck. I use my tongue and lips and smile when I hear him moan, I'm doing it. Further down, he turns me on my stomach so I can watch him lube everything up and push his finger inside me. He sighs deeply, then it pulls it out. You, he says, reaching for my lubed hand. Carefully, I push my finger into him. He stops me for a minute, pulling my hand out. More lube. 12 2-year-olds. All is okay. Anything is okay, I say. Words are not quite right. So I kiss him. He smiles into the kiss, almost laughing. Then he shoves me so I'm lying on my back and kneels over me. He slower lowers himself, grabbing my body and guiding me, easing me into him. At first, the tightness is intense, it almost hurts. And I wonder if I'm doing anything wrong. Oh, he says, and starts moving up and down on me. It feels astounding, different from a blowjob, but so much better than by myself in the shower. It's rampant in our library, guys. There's not a few books. I looked up gay children's books in the library. On y'all's website, 98 books came up. Now, it may have been changed by now, but that's what comes up on the library's website. That's gay sex, but there's straight sex. These are one of the milder ones. It gets
Thank
worse.
you for your time.
So
This gentleman had his hand up first the last time. They don't speak long.
everybody needs to hear that.
My name is Jack Gill. I'm going to speak on a different subject briefly, so I'll read this and let me pass this around. This is the information for you to have. My name is Jack Gill, Putnam County resident, Cooper resident, and I'm just going to read the letter so you've got that before you can get any reference. This was to the board and dear Chairman Eagle. I'm writing to the Putnam County Library Board to formally address a matter of public concern regarding the procedures governing applications, recommendations, and appointments for service on the Library Board. As a stakeholder, I've consulted Putnam County Library Board Constitution and bylaws, which are attachment A, and the document Tennessee Code annotated 10, Chapter 3, 101 through 111, attachment B in the attachment. While these documents establish the legal authority of the county commission and city council to appoint library members, they do not provide easily accessible procedural guidance regarding how citizens may submit nominations or how much such nominations are evaluated. This lack of clarity has led to uncertainty regarding the fairness and transparency of the appointment process. According to Tennessee Code Annotated 103103, members of public library boards are appointed by the applicable city or county legislative body. However, without board adopted guidelines on qualifications, public notice, and nominations, citizens are deprived of an open pathway to engage.
Taxpayer stakeholders deserve assurance that the process is conducted fairly, with opportunities for qualified individuals to be considered. For that reason, I respectfully urge the board to adopt a clear public policy. To assist the board, I've included a proposed policy language, nomination, and appointment to the library board, attachment C, proposed framework for your consideration. This policy language balances the board's legal obligations under Tennessee Code annotated with its duty to operate transparently. It promotes public trust while reinforcing citizen engagement in the governance of our community library system. I respectfully request is that this proposed framework be placed on the agenda on an upcoming board meeting for formal consideration and possible adoption following consultation with the county and city legislative bodies and others deemed appropriate by the library board. Finally, I request the resulting framework be used in appointing the next library open vacancy. And with that, I thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, Sam.
My name is Stacy Shoate, S-T-A-C-Y-E-C-H-O-A-T-E. And unlike Mr. Rader, I don't think that this is a problem. I think this is a challenge that our politicians have created. And I find it offensive that our politicians have isolated a class of people who haven't been trans or gay or lesbian. Because clearly, this gentleman who read this book has apparently either not read or chooses to ignore Danielle Steele novels. And the reason why it is ignored is because it's heterosexual sex. This is about the First Amendment.
I had that, but I didn't have time. I didn't have time.
And the items listed for complaint today are all geared toward a specific class of people. And if the folks who hate gay, lesbian, and transgender people would open their hearts, I know a lot of folks who are very different than me. And they're good human beings who do a lot for our community. So let's tell this like it is. This is about power and control. And I personally object to books being classified based upon one or two people's opinion. Because otherwise, there's about 10,000 books in this library that I also could object to.
I would like to very quickly, Luke and I want to address everyone very fast and just say that please, we ask that you respectfully disagree with one another. Luke and I have had so many hours of conversation, and the last time Luke was like, man, we disagree on a lot. I was like, we do. But the one thing we do agree on is that we're respectful to one another. We do not call names. We do not shout. We do not yell. We are here for professional dialogue, and I would appreciate it if you would please follow that.
Absolutely. This is very touchy,
Mm-hmm.
no doubt. And, but we also got to consider that we live in a community one with another. We're going to disagree on things, and that is okay. I'll get to my points in a minute, especially to some of the points you have made, but me and her disagree on a lot. But there's something her and I are going to work on after this that we both agree on, I think. And so we have that common ground, but there's no reason to attack one another. I've been attacked on social media because of this. My church has been attacked on social media because of this. So I've been attacked. My family's been attacked in other areas. So just be mindful that what we do say to one another, it's not just in here, but it has a ripple effect. And we can agree to disagree on things. And all I did was ask that books be moved. That is all I'm asking. And this ain't my time, please. But to Michelle, no, if you don't mind, Miss Danielle Steele, I actually gave this to the Herald Citizen. They did not report it, but that's okay. I have it in email. That if the books would have been like Miss Danielle Steele, if the books would have been brought to me that were like 50 Shades of Grey, if the books would have been those romance novels, if that would have been what was brought to me, I would have been asking the same thing, because it's not about that. It's about sexual content. and some concerns I have due to the mental health. And we're doing something in the community called Restoring Childhood. We're trying to. You go ahead. Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
okay.
Go ahead.
Just let me know.
Yes, sorry.
Okay.
We're doing a whole thing called Restoring Childhood. And we're trying to focus on getting kids off social media because of the detriment that has. Well, what about books when they read them at a certain age? I totally agree that parents should make that decision, but I think certain books should be put in the adult section. And that's all I've been asking. I'm not looking to ban books. So I want you to know that that has been misquoted. I want you to know that is a falsehood that's out there. There is also a lie that's been going around that I've been asking for Miss Catherine to be fired. I have not done that. She has been great to work with. Most of this stuff was probably prior to her. I don't know. Me and her have talked about these things. We agree to disagree, but she has been great to work with. I have come to talk with her face to face. We talked the other day. I've talked to this lady as well. So it's more concerning than just whatever the narrative will be, and I'll get hammered on this too. But the narrative here is, do we care about our children? And I think we all do. And I do not want to see our children have easy access to where they can just pull a book, not knowing. Just put it in the adult section. That's all I ask. That's all the recommendation is. That's all I'm asking. And I will respect whatever decision she makes. She has actually already done that and sent me back information on 4 books. She's already doing that. Some of these books are out, so she's not able to do what she needs to do. When those books come in, she's going to do her part. And this board has been very gracious in helping with that. I've spoken with many people in this Putnam. I don't know the others, but I have spoken with some of you about this. But we've got to figure out children are important, are the books important? I think we all agree children are more important than some books. I just wish I'm going to honor whatever you do, and then I make that decision as a father, whether if I want my children and my family to be here. That's the public library. And I would challenge or encourage everybody that if that's what you want to do, it's your choice. It's a public library. And I'm going to respect. I may not agree with what she does, and that's okay. I'm not going to go on social media. I'm not on social media. My stuff's on there, but I've been on there for years because this is what happens. And I'm not that type of person. I want to work together with one another. And I appreciate everything you've done. I appreciate everything, the conversations I've had. You guys have been great to work with. Again, I'm not trying to ban books. I think that is ridiculous. I'm just trying to say, put these books to where they need to go. And let the parent choose what they want to do, but reach from there. I don't want my child reaching over here and pulling out a book and seeing something or reading something that he doesn't need to read. And that's all I have to say. And if anybody has any questions afterwards, I will stay and talk to anybody about any of this, I promise.
Ma'am in the pink sweater?
Yes, it was my turn, but I waited. My name is Letty Collier, Lettiecollier. As a member of Restoring Childhood, I just want to point out that his views are not all of ours. Thank you. And I prepared my statement because I wanted to make sure I said what I wanted to say. Our public library is one of the most accessible and democratic institutions we have. It should never be the personal preferences of a few individuals that dictate what the entire community has access to. Books serve as both windows into other worlds and mirrors that help us see and understand our own. Restricting access to them takes away opportunities for learning, growth, and empathy. Ultimately, it is the responsibility of parents to guide what their own children read, just as they guide what their children watch on television, websites they visit, or what activities they engage in. That responsibility should not be shifted to the library by restricting access to everyone. For everyone. One of the greatest strengths of this country is our freedom to read, to think, and to choose for ourselves. So I urge Dr. Weisinger and the board to honor that freedom by rejecting calls for censorship and keeping our library collection whole and accessible to all.
So right now I've got the gentleman next to you and then the lady next to you.
So first of all, I want to thank you all for...
Introduce yourself, please.
Oh, sorry. My name is Grayson Cupid, CPIT. I'm a resident here in Putnam County. And I want to thank you all for the work that you do as a kid who grew up in a lower opportunity family, who spent a lot of time at the library, and whose life was forever changed by books. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. The work that you guys do is so important. I want to briefly address the sort of elephant in the room of this being about obscenity, which frankly I think is a little bit disingenuous, as Ms. Show pointed out. A lot of these books, I mean, we had, one of them was, I think, Pride Puppy is a alphabetical book. It's an alphabet picture book for children, right? Not all of these are obscene, and I think perhaps if there were even one book on that list of books that were not LGBTQ coded, that this would be a slightly different conversation. But the fact is that it's not. This library should be a monument to a free people or a free society to make the decisions about what they want to read. And when did we become so soft as to not want to make those decisions for ourselves? That we couldn't make those decisions, and we couldn't trust our parents and our individuals in our community, and we'd rather put that responsibility in our institutions and our government. It's not easy. There are a lot of ideas out there. Not all of them are good. I was a 20-year-old kid, I know that. Put it to the test. But that's not what a library is. A library doesn't promote one viewpoint or another. It's not the library's job to tell you that this book is good or this book is bad. It's about access. And it's messy sometimes, but it's our individual responsibility as Americans, as Tennesseans, to live in that free society. I also want to point out that there have been multiple court rulings where even restricting access to books based on ideology have been overturned, have gone through litigation, right? And so I want to close by saying, well, one, by imploring this board to err on the side, not of censorship, but also to point out that those decisions have been made and could be made here again if it's determined that these books were restricted based on ideology and not on obscenity. And if that's the case, I would like to ask the general question, is that how we want to spend our county's resources? In litigation about nonsense culture war stuff that's meant to divide us, or do we want to spend that money and those resources improving the lives of citizens of Putnam County? So, with that, I'll end my time, and thank you all.
Ma'am, you're next.
I'm Jamie Linder, L-I-N-D-E-R. I'm also a resident of Putnam County. And ironically, I just finished my master's thesis on banning consent. Congratulations. Thank you. So I do want to ask those of you who are here trying to not ban, censor, move books, have you read the entire books, or have you just read the excerpts that you saw? Because usually, when we are banning books or censoring them, we are looking at just a piece of a book, like a paragraph. Like a paragraph of a book. We're not getting the whole lesson out of the story or the whole meaning out of the book. But I do, as to Ms. Schultz's point, book bans disguise their remonstrances and religious and moralistic objections, particularly focusing on a need to protect children. It is crucial to acknowledge the authors of these banned and challenged books and the subjects they address. Grace Pickering notes what they are deeming inappropriate are overwhelmingly books that reflect the experiences and lives of marginalized people. Of banned books, 10% are women-centered fiction. 64% of banned authors are women, while half of books published are written by females, and 39% are by people of color that are banned. Banning books by women, people of color, and the LGBT community also contributes to structural misogyny and racism that further silences these groups through the ways it impacts literacy itself. Children, teenagers, need to see themselves represented in books. Students, teenage girls are being raped. They need to read books about rape. Students are learning about their sexuality when they are teenagers. Straight and gay people. They need to see themselves represented in that so they know that they're not alone. The amount of suicide rates in LGBT community is insanity. And a lot of it is because they don't see themselves represented. People of color are not seeing themselves represented in books. Read the whole book, not just an excerpt. Before you come and say, let's move a book off of a shelf, read the entire book. Please. Thank you.
My name is Sarah Kruska. OHKRUS, C as in zebra, KA. I'm going to piggyback off of that because books save lives. When I was a teenager, I learned about different people through books. I learned about people who live lives I would never understand. But I also found myself. When I was a kid, growing up gay, even in Michigan, which is a lot safer than this area, trust me, trust my car, that, discovering people and books who had feelings the way I did changed my life. It meant I was not broken, I was not damaged, I did not deserve to go to hell, and I didn't have to die. If I had Googled or searched the library in 90 or gay kids books or gay young adult books and came up with 98, I would have been thrilled. Because I needed that material. I didn't know, I grew up in the early 80s and 90s. Ellen was it for a gay woman on TV. And she wasn't that good at it. That show was, was what it was. I didn't see myself on TV. I didn't see myself in my friends. When I used to question things, when I used to have crushes on girls, I really thought that I was broken and I was going to hell because all I heard is what my church said. And then I found churches that were accepting. So, books save lives, and restricting access to it could have deadly consequences. Thank you.
Beth, Mannle. I've been coming to this library since 1974 when we moved here. My children have come to this library since they were born, literally. There is such a huge difference in this library today than even 3 years ago. This woman has done wondrous things for this library. Unbelievable. We need to let her and her staff continue working as she has told us they are doing. We need to give her our support in doing that. As the mother of a lesbian who saves people's lives every day in the emergency room, God doesn't make junk. And we need to support the people in this community, whatever their lifestyle. Please, let's support the library and let them do their job. You have to.
Thank you.
Rachel Steidel, Steidel. Thank you to everyone who's here. As a member of the board of a different library board, it's an honor to see this room full. It's not something we normally get to do. And I would just challenge the Board of Trustees to look at the concerned citizens and those that are challenging these books. Are these people who actually hold library cards here at the Putnam County Library versus the opinions of library staff members that have degrees in library science, doctorates in library science, and actual tools and skills to determine what materials need to be there to be representative of our entire community.
My name is Brenda Martin. Okay, I come from a different place. I've escaped California. Okay, I grew up with a lot of friends who were gay. I had them attend our wedding. My kids grew up with them. That wasn't the problem. The problem was the words in the books for a 12-year-old. My kids are grandkids, and I have a 15-year-old grandson. that I would not ever want to read that book. He's 15 and he already knows more than I want to know. But the 12-year-olds do not. So, no, I don't believe. And Danielle Steele, 50 Shades of Grey, all that for a woman, you bet. But I'm over 18 and I can make that decision for myself. But I don't think a 12-year-old needs to do that.
My name's Clarissa Reeves Williams. I wrote the article for the Highlands Insider, and I do want to thank everyone, Dr. Weisinger, I didn't know that, and Luke, as well as Vinny, who gave me information. I've been working on that article since June. I did not want to publish the article, but I did so because I saw people trying to spin it on social media as a book ban. And this is not a book ban. I am not a fan of book banning. I have shared that with the library. And my mother is also a recipient of a doctorate and a published author. And as a person who's worked in media for over 30 years and had to claw my way to the top and often had pay discrepancies and other issues, I know that there are a lot of things that are not fair in life. This is not, from what the information, and I've reviewed all of it, I'm glad to hear you mention the obscenity information. I am working with legal right now to make sure that we as a publication do not break obscenity laws, because we plan to publish the whole packet so everyone can see it. I can't publish the whole books, but go and check them out at the library if you want to see them. I also agree with what you said, that no one deserves to go to hell, and I agree with what you said. God doesn't make junk. As a Christian, I find it extremely important to talk to people on every side of the aisle. I have family and friends who are gay, who are trans. I have family and friends who sit at the dinner table with me, and I go to their house. They've stayed at my house. I've gone to their place. I think that it's wrong to make this about LGBTQ+, when it's about what's appropriate for children, with a person who knows about psychology and having discussions with where children's minds are growing. It's not appropriate for a 12-year-old. I don't make the rules, and I'm sure you all didn't decide the young adult to be 12 to 17, but I think at some point common sense has to weigh in, because children are not ready at 12 to have those conversations. My kids are adult, thank goodness, but when they were little, we used to have to sign off waivers if we wanted them to even go through sex ed. I mean, it's a very different time frame. They do, that's good. But I think that it's important that we all come together. The community means so much to everybody. Everybody here cares about the library. I don't think anybody here is saying close the library. That would be a travesty. As a taxpayer, I have children, I have grandchildren. I want to see the library flourish. But I also want to see good common sense structure. Thank you.
Please.
Yeah, hi. My name's Bobby Quintana, Quintana. And gee, I've heard some excellent comments here tonight. Hearing sexually explicit things. I guess I would, you picture a cute little kid of 7 or 8, you worry about that. But we're talking about what may be harmful to children to listen to. But we haven't really asked children. And if you ask a lot of children, I don't know, I was a school bus driver in Putnam County for 11 years, and my wife is a teacher here. But what they're worried about now is being shot, and we don't hear anything about that. We're not worried. We seem to be so worried about sexually explicit things, somebody going into the wrong bathroom or something, even if they feel like they belong there. But we're not worried about children going out and killing children, and books that promote that, so we don't have to focus our attention. It's always been that way. I'm 88, I know this from when I was a kid. It's all they ever talked about was they're worried about sex, but they're not worried about, you know, make my day, you know, and something like that. Being tough, putting other people down. There's no talk about that. We kind of like that, somebody getting what they deserve, you know, and we all know, some of us, what they deserve. And that is what is glorified in our books, our newspapers, television, presidents, and politicians. And I think, you know, there ought to be more attention, a little bit more focus on some of that, because right now, children going to school are afraid to go to school. And it's not just, you know, say, oh, well, it's a public school, they don't have any respect. It's Catholic schools, parochial schools, all kinds of schools, you know, where they hear the Word of God and all of that. And it doesn't seem to make much difference. They still have kids in public schools, parochial schools, all kinds of schools that feel the way to settle things and the way to make things right is violence. And that's the way to do it, rather than critical thinking, you know, and, you know, we're not promoting that, so I don't know, blah, 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 but anyway, that's what I have to say.
I'm Jill Horner, and I'm here because I'm a grandma. I've got 12 grandkids. Some of them are in public schools, some of them are in private schools, some of them are homeschooled. And I love all of them dearly. And for a long time, we supported the library. So I love the library too, okay? And I love our community. And I was glad, I was out in the hall, so I didn't hear all of your comments, Danny, but I think at the first of all, you all said you sort of are addressing this as a board at some point, and I hope there's a good outcome for that. But anyway, what I'm here to do is tell you that I care about children, and I care about parents. And I want to see families in this community, all families, doesn't matter who they are, thrive and succeed. And the library is a hub for that. It's a hub for that. It's a hub for the community. So I'm here. I've got this book called Damsel. I'm not going to read it. It is in the young adult section as we speak today. It has nothing to do with LGBTQ. It's just erotica. And, you know, I've got 4 grandkids, I guess, that are in the age group that would be here looking for this. I would not send them on their own. But I'll tell you, a 12 to 14-year-old does not want a helicopter grandma following them around. So I think it would be really good and helpful for you as a board to come up with some kind of system where parents know what they're looking for. They don't have to pull up some sheet to see what's in this book. It'll be labeled accordingly. It'll be transparent. It's like when you go to the movies or you choose a movie online, you kind of know what you're looking for. You know, kids can't go into Love Shack until they're 18. They can't drive a car till they're 16. They can't have a drink till they're 21. So having some sort of age restriction, or at least transparent information to help parents and grandparents who want to use the library not feel like they just have to avoid it. So that's all I think we're asking. I want to commend Luke Eldridge for taking this on. He didn't have to. He's gotten a lot of flack from it online. And so I would encourage everybody, let's be nice to each other. Let's work this problem out. If there is a problem, some of you don't feel like there is one, and I respect that. Totally respect that. But I'm thankful for this community who has turned out because they care. Everyone can care. And that's something we can agree on. So, thank you.
My name's, I'll use this since Dr. Anderson. I want to make 2 points, if I could. First of all, I just want to say that I know Dr. Weisinger well and know her work, especially about research on what a huge community resource a library can be. I know she's very passionate about making sure that this library serves this community, and that she cares as much as anybody I've ever met about the important role of libraries in communities. And so, first of all, I just want to say I think we are so lucky to have somebody like her that is at the helm of this, especially during times where we have so many people that care deeply and are asking important questions of each other of how do we do this as a community together. And I could not think of a better person to help us navigate that, because she has a ton of expertise about the library, and also she has the right passion and heart for children, which we are all talking about, and for our community. And so I just want you all to know, if you don't already, we are lucky to have her. You don't have to go read her dissertation. I'm familiar with it. We're not asking you to do that, but we are lucky to have her as a resource here to navigate these things and have the expertise to make a lot of these decisions. And so I just want you all to know that we have that as a resource as part of this library too. Secondly, just to comment on what was just said, there are a lot of great resources online available to parents and families that you can utilize to vet books from all different points of view. You can find people that you are aligned with that will look at books and help you understand and navigate that. There are services that are free available out there. And so I think a lot of the point of a lot of this meeting is, what is the role of the library in this process? That's the big question that we're all trying to ask, is what role should the library play in this? And I think the key is, we don't want the library doing something that parents and families should be doing. And so there are a lot of resources available to help parents and families who, just like that last lady was saying, I appreciate the struggle to, you can't read all the books either, and you want to make sure that you're responsible in guiding young minds, which we all care about. I'm an educator myself, I care about those things too. But there are lots of resources available for that. The role of the library is to be a repository and to have available and provide access for people. And so I think that's where we have to be really careful, is in letting parents and families make those decisions and making sure that our community has access to the resources that they need. I understand the concerns and I appreciate all the concerns, but also there are a lot of resources available to do that, and that may not be the role that the library should play in the community. As far as vetting all those things, that's the role of families and parents to make for their own children.
Anyone else?
Tammy Samples, I am not playing this tonight, this is kind of off the cuff. I'm a retired public school librarian, elementary school, and I know the hours that go into searching books that go into your library. I spent hours reading reviews, making sure that they were appropriate for my age level of kids in elementary school. I had fourth graders, the books that they read would certainly not be appropriate for a kindergartner to read. And I would direct them to where they needed to go. That was my responsibility as the librarian. In this case, you talk about these books not being appropriate for 12-year-olds. I agree, they're not. But they are appropriate perhaps for a 17 or 16-year-old who's struggling. I know when I was growing up, which was a long time ago, in the 60s, the fiction that I read was not realistic fiction. And so when I went to library school and I took an adolescent lit class, it just blew me away that all these books that are out there now, realistic fiction, guiding kids, helping kids, answering questions for them. Questions that they couldn't ask their parents. They had books to go and read. And perhaps when they read the book, they decide, that's not for me, I don't like that. They were given an opportunity. And as a responsible parent, and I think all of us here are responsible parents or we wouldn't be here, it is our duty to look at the books that our children bring into the house and see if it's appropriate for your particular child. I will say that these kids, if they're interested in something, they're going to read it. Whether it's in your home or somewhere else, they're going to get it and they're going to read it. So I just think that we need to make these books available, make them accessible for kids so that they can read and learn and explore the world around them. And so I'm glad that we're not talking about banning the books, but I do think that we need to continue to make books accessible for the whole gamut of people that we have in this.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else?
My name is speaking, I didn't know this name exactly, but I know. I would like to express my opinion, and may I look as valid as anyone else's.
Can you please introduce yourself?
Jennifer Duar. But what I'd rather do is quote from the Tennessee Code. And this is Title 39, Criminal Offenses, Chapter 17, Offenses Against Public Health, Safety, and Welfare, Part 9, Obscenity. So this is 39-17-911 Tennessee Code annotated. Sale, loan, or exhibition of material to minors. It is unlawful for any person to knowingly sell or loan for monetary consideration or otherwise exhibit or make available to a minor, 1, any picture, photograph, drawing, sculpture, motion picture film, video game, computer software game, or similar visual representation or image of a person or portion of the human body that depicts nudity, sexual conduct, excess violence, or sadomasochistic abuse, and that is harmful to minors. Or 2, any book, pamphlet, magazine, printed matter, however produced, or sound recording, which contains any matter enumerated above, or that contains explicit and detailed verbal descriptions or narrative accounts of sexual excitement, sexual conduct, excess violence, or sadomasochistic abuse, and that is harmful to minors. B, it is unlawful for any person to knowingly exhibit to a minor for monetary consideration or to knowingly sell to a minor an admission ticket or pass or otherwise admit a minor to premises whereon there is exhibited a motion picture, show, or other presentation which in whole or in part depicts nudity, sexual conduct, excess violence, or sadomasochistic abuse, and which is harmful to minors. C, a violation of this section is a Class A misdemeanor. D, it is an affirmative defense to prosecution under this section that the minor to whom the material or show is made available or exhibited was at the time accompanied by the person's parent or legal guardian, or by an adult with written permission of the parent or legal guardian. And I think that speaks for itself. I don't think we should do as a community what would be considered a misdemeanor for an individual. Thank you.
My name's Travis Little, and I'm a resident of Putnam County, and I'm curious why there's no definition of obscenity that we can all agree on, number one. And we're trying to prevent children from having access to material that they're exposed to anyway. And why aren't we willing to let them see an accurate portrayal? I have a family member who's trans, and I can't help but think of the trauma that this person had to go through in their mind before they had the courage to tell their parents that they weren't the child that they expected they were. And now he's a thriving young man, he's an artist, got the world going for him. But why are we so willing to alienate these children? I'm curious, of these 98 books that we've got on the shelves, how many are checked out regularly? And to what age group? Do you ask? I mean, it's probably illegal for you to ask something like that. But I am curious, do they just sit there? I mean, I've been a reader since I could. And like somebody said, you can't hide a book around the house. Your kids are going to find it. You know, I'm just so disappointed in this whole scene that we think that we can, getting back to childhood by, how are we going to eliminate media? You know, this is a fool's errand. That we're not going back to the 50s. We're not. We may want to, but it's just not going to happen. We need to embrace the future, and that means embracing everybody as part of it. And that's all I have.
first, please.
Yes, my name is Sarah Pierce, and I am an educator for 34 years in the Putnam County school system. I've pretty much run the whole gauntlet from the bottom to the top, and had jobs in every area of the field. But what I'm wondering is, are the books being moved? I couldn't understand, I couldn't hear. Are these books, controversial materials, being moved away from a children's section into a section where it would be more restricted of who could access them?
They moved from the young adult section to the adult section.
Is that true? Who's
We usually don't respond in public comment, we just listen.
Okay.
So 12 years old to 17.
I missed it back here, and there's some people that are thinking that these books are being totally removed. That's what I'm asking. Okay. All right, and then are you all following, everything set forth in the Tennessee Code annotated for libraries? Then are you following your policies to the T? Are you putting forth a protocol by which you know who's checking it out, the age group, if you're restricting, and so that can be insurance given to the public? And it's obvious that there's a lot of controversy around this, and it would be pretty easy to solve that. And I think you're heading in the right direction, but nobody wants to have to police another group and make decisions. So we all are just asking that question. If you have a means by which to assure that things are put into a certain section, that only certain age groups are accessing it. And so far, that's where I would stop at this point.
We need to let everyone else a chance first. We are hopefully closing in on the time here as well. Hopefully. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Gentleman in the back?
Pastor Fortunato from Pilgrim Baptist Church. I've got something to say, and I think everybody likes books, right? Everybody likes books. This is the book. This is a King James Bible. And I think it would be an easy solution to this problem. The Bible says, but whoso shall offend one of these little ones which believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and he were drowned in the depth of the sea. Now, that's not me speaking, that's Jesus. Anybody here believe in Jesus? Okay, you believe in Jesus? You know what Jesus said? If you want to put that type of literature in front of, it's not a young adult that's young would be 18 or older. If you want to put that content in front of children, this book that should be in the library says it's better for that person to go down to Cane Creek Park and drown themselves rather than try to put that type of filth in front of children and cause them to stumble. So I think that the solution is pretty easy. We have a heart change, and we obey what the Bible says. If we go downtown, we see the sign say, "In God we trust." So now's an opportunity to put our money where our mouth is and make sure that we trust God. Let me show you what else the Bible says. What we do, we might need to put it in the young adult section. I'm for every book that's against this book. As a pastor, every sin that this Bible's against, I think we should be against as a community, if we say in God we trust. Now, if you just want to make up a God in your own mind, you can trust whoever you made up in your head. But the God of the Bible says that all of us are sinners. And no matter the lifestyle that you're in, if it's a sinful lifestyle, God puts forth His love, and He says this. He says, "But God commendeth His love toward us, and that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us." much more than being now justified by his blood, we shall be saved from wrath through him. So if we as a community put sin in front of our children, we're disobeying God. And we all have a choice. We all have a choice. Let's make the right choice if we're going to be a community that says that we trust in God. Or we just take down in God we trust and we say in the library we trust.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
Gentleman in the hat.
Ray Hobley, NOBLIT. I didn't know I was coming to a church meeting, but speaking of that, it's not the library's position to promote any religion, whether it's Christianity, Buddhism, Muslims, whatever. The library provides books on every subject, and they let the people read it and decide for themselves. And because you have a book that says, oh, well, they shouldn't read this or they shouldn't read that, it's not the library's decision to make on what they read. And it sure isn't a preacher, a Buddhist monk, or an imam to decide what our children read or anybody else reads. That's all I've got to say.
Yeah.
All right, one more in the back.
Hi, everyone. Hello. I just got here late, so pardon me if there are time to speak. I'll be patient.
3 minutes, and please introduce yourself.
Thank you. My name is Moss Keith. I use they, them pronouns. I was born and raised in the Cookville area. I grew up in a church 2 blocks that way, and I am trans. The gender that I was assigned at birth is not the gender that I am. I knew that as a 4-year-old. I told my mom, and she said, no, you're not. Don't ever say that again. She didn't know any better. She just wanted to protect me. I don't hold that against her. I love her. But I grew up my whole life thinking I was one way. And then 3 years ago, I realized I'm not suicidal because I don't like myself. I'm suicidal because I don't like who I've been told to be. I'm now the happiest I've ever been. And that's largely in part to folks around who, folks in the want to be anybody's political agenda, but here I am. The books that people have access to affect their world, affect the world that they tangibly touch, affect the world in their head, affect the world they think might actually exist within it. If we take away books from people that represent themselves, represent what they could be, we risk killing kids. It's not a discussion of, oh, are trans people pedophiles? Not every trans person's perfect. There might be someone out there, but the people I see being convicted for pedophile tend to be folks who are in leadership positions in religious facilities. I wish that weren't true. That has been a very common thing. I would just like to say that the books that were burned by the Nazis in Germany were by scientists doing sex and gender research. They weren't random books. They were books to prevent people from realizing that they didn't have to follow the rules of the world to be happy. If you take away the books from people trying to be happy, what are you trying to do? Please let people live their lives. Thank
you. Yes, ma'am.
Here's what we have.
Barbara, let me just, before you speak, I have, everybody who's on the board here knows that I've got a work commitment at 6 o'clock on Tuesdays, and these meetings don't usually last this long. And again, thank you all very much for being here. I'm sorry that I've got to step out. I will find out what you said and what you all said from the minutes, and I apologize for having to leave, but again, thank you all for sticking your mind. I know. See you all.
I really appreciate it. Very much. We have an experience with being trans and gay.
Can't hear you, Barbara. You gotta.
I'm sorry, you didn't know Barbara.
Barbara Reynolds, R-E-Y, N-O-L-E-S. I think it is extremely hard to be a child in school if you're gay, lesbian, trans, because people are bullying you, because you don't seem like the rest of the people. And I'm just thrilled that 2 or 3 of you have spoken about yourselves and how it was. When we talk about children, we talk about children that may not have those experiences of being trans and gay, and you don't understand it. And I think if your mind is telling you one thing, and your sex is something else, that's a real dilemma. That's not discussed in the Bible anymore. And it's something scientists know about. And we need to learn about it ourselves, so we know how to experience and how to accept and how to acknowledge people who have trans and gay and experiences like that. Because they're the ones that are going to kill themselves. Their parents don't understand. Cut your hair. I don't want you to have your hair. You're cutting your hair. You know, this is a boy that was born boy who wants to be a girl. And then he goes to school and he's bullied at school. I just think we need to understand this as a community and accept those kids that are different than the ones we know and understand that. So anyway, that's what I wanted to say, and that's what books do. And the time when kids are learning about their sexuality, it's in those early years. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Anyway, I think that's important to know.
Do we have any other public comment?
Sorry about that. So I know limit's about 3 minutes, right?
3 minutes. Can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Annabelle Dempsey. I've lived here in Putnam County for roughly 6 years at this point. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I'm not going to take up to 3 minutes. Just wanted to say I'm part of the LGBTQ+ community. When I was a kid, I grew up feeling broken because I didn't see any LGBTQ+ representation. I had all these different feelings. Complex feelings about my gender, complex feelings later on about sexuality. But everywhere I saw representations of things that were completely different than the way I felt. And so these kind of things, they would have made the world to me as a kid. I would not have grown up feeling broken, wondering what was wrong with myself, and frankly, trying to pretend to be something I wasn't. So I think that's why it's important that these books aren't moved, because if they're not in places where people can find them, how do you expect people to find the materials that would make materials that are explicit to be moved? The Bible, for example, has some pretty explicit themes in it. I am not advocating for children not to read it, because that's part of their religion, that's part of their right. And I really wish that people could kind of respect the same thing for us, that your way of life doesn't have to be everyone's way of life. Thank you.
All right. Is there anyone else for public comment?
Hello, I'm Wayne, neighbors, NEBOA. I agree with Ollie, and I agree with Mr. Vice Mayor. I think a solution needs to be found as to what to do appropriately with the books for the appropriate response. I hold in my hand something that everybody in this building has done. It's a cell phone. And you can access anything of your heart's desire on this phone. You don't necessarily need this library. You can read all about it. You can look all about it. You can do whatever in depth you want to do on this phone right here. I applaud our school system for now instituting policy of the pouches, so when our kids come into the classroom, the phones are put up so they're not distracted and they can learn. And that is a good thing. This is this library's been here a long time, and I hope it stays here a long, long time. And we want it to be a good library and continue on and to serve everybody. I think in days to come, that's what we need to do, is find that correct way to handle all of this. I have a 7-year-old granddaughter, 2nd grade at Parkview, that I would, no way, form or fashion, have her in that section. I would not allow her anywhere close to that. I think it would be extremely derogatory. What she needs to learn needs to be learned from her parents. And that's where a lot of our breakdown is nowadays, is our family anyway. So I applaud you all for being on this board. Thank you for your service. And I will want to be right there with Commissioner Cinto and the city and county and bring resolve to this. Nobody's asking to ban anything. What we're asking is to put it in an appropriate place where it is accessible by the appropriate set of folks. And we go from there. Thank you.
Last chance, any final comment or public comments? Yes, ma'am.
I was not going to speak, but got here late and decided that I would.
Introduce yourself.
Do what?
Will you introduce yourself?
Oh, I'm sorry. Connie Bellamy, grandmother, mother, hoping to have great-grandchildren. And one of the things I wanted to bring up, and someone may have already, because like I said, I arrived late, but this totally, for the people that I know, has nothing to do with gay, straight, that kind of thing. It truly has to do with what we consider our county library that we fund, partially at least, $7,000 worth from the county, tax dollars. And the city council also helps to fund. And no one that I've spoken with, and I've spoken with a bunch of people, wants their tax dollar funding porn in children's section of our public libraries. You all have a policy defined yourself, and it's located on your site, that says if we, as the public, schedule a meeting room here at the library, you all prohibit anything that would be activities or material that might be considered obscene. So, in my head, logically, common sense wise, I'm thinking you're breaching your own policy. The fact that we're saying in this library that it's children 12 and up, I understand, who can access these materials. I can't, as a nurse in a school clinic, give an aspirin to a child without parental consent. And a child in the school system is not 12. I mean, a minor is 18 or less, so it's children under those ages. So we do have currently in this country defined laws, codes, that kind of thing. And even policies that you all have drafted, or someone did on the board, because we understand that's your accountability. So if nothing else, just consider putting these books in an appropriate location for adults. And you'd have to correct me or inform me, but I understand one of the processes that we have in place to oppose a book is a form that the individual has to complete, and it includes that the individual read the entire book. Well, I tried to read some of the books, and I would no way on earth read the entire book. It's about a boy and a girl, teenagers, performing explicit sex acts and describing how wonderful it felt, and I couldn't read it all. So I don't want my grandchildren or great-grandchildren being able to read that kind of stuff and be paid for it.
All right, we are at 6 o'clock. I think we've concluded public comment. I understand there's a diverse range of views, but I really want to applaud everyone for having overall a civil conversation here. And I think that was very beneficial, so thank you. Moving on to item 5, old business. Item 6, new business, start with the laser machine policy.
Yes, we all have the laser machine policy in front of you. I'm going to be really fast because I know we're all really tired. So we have currently in place a policy. We would like to change a couple of the words because we have gotten a few more, we're getting a few more machines. So we'd like this policy to kind of encapsulate a vinyl printer and then the laser cutter that we already have.
Sorry to interrupt, real quick, can you remind us like what the laser, what it does?
The laser cutter?
Yeah.
It will second to last paragraph, the library's crafting machine, it said laser engraver. So I can go back over this very quickly. Putnam County Library System crafting machine policy. Use of the crafting machine, by reservation only, second sentence, only designated library staff will be allowed hands-on access to the crafting machine. And then the rest of the language stays the same in the paragraph 2, 3, 4, 5. Paragraph 6, patrons must provide their own materials. We will be removing to be cut or engraved. Next sentence, we highly recommend using materials suggested for each machine in lieu of X tool. That next paragraph, the first sentence remains the same. The second sentence, the library's crafting machines. So we're just changing that laser engraver to crafting machines. So that is the only changes that we're requesting the board make for our policy on that. Do you all have any questions about it? Or
When do you expect to get the?
well, that is such a great question.
It's a pre-order.
It is a pre-order, and we have been anxiously awaiting this machine for 2.5 months. I guess it is not bad. That's correct. I am practicing patience.
I'm used to things 4 to 6 monthly.
Yes,
so,
that's true.
okay.
That's true. I should give you some perspective. So we are very anxiously awaiting said machine and hope that we receive it in the next 4 to 6 weeks.
Well, has the current crafting machine being utilized a great deal?
Some, I mean, it's still new,
We're still checking.
but yes, a lot of people have come and used it, made crafts for teachers and.
And yes.
And the fact that it's free of charge is really great, because if you're getting that done somewhere else, it's quite a pricey experience.
It is, because I have no conceptual ability, like spatially. I didn't understand what Brian was talking about, that you directed me to go to Poets, near Poets, what's the name of the place? The market, and they have one, and it's expensive. So that's how I was able to see it in action. So yes, it's great, it's great.
Move approval of the changes.
My second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Additions change made to policy.
Okay, excellent, thank you. I'll make those changes, we'll update the website, make sure those are reflected in our amendments to the policies.
All right, next order of business is a recommendation for our vacant membership for Alicia's position.
Yes, and the name Diane Duncan was put up, and she is in here somewhere, okay. Sorry, Diane, it wasn't, it's typically not quite so busy, but Brian, I think you.
Yeah, so I don't know that there's anyone more qualified in this county for the position. President of the over 100-year of the Book Lovers Club.
Something like that.
President for 100 years.
Yes.
You've been on the board for the Imagination Library for over 20 years.
Yes.
And then you were the director here for 15 years. So I would like to put forward the nomination for Diane Duncan for our vacant position. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed?
I know I don't need anything further. I've known her for years. I don't need any additional explanation.
All right, motion carries.
I will submit that request to the county. I submit it to Randy, and then he submits it to the county commission.
Director's reports.
Yep. Well, I'm going to make this really short. We have received a nearly $2 million grant from the county, which we're very, very excited about, an expansion grant, and that construction has in fact begun. I'm sure you noticed it on your way in. But it has actually started, and they've come and tested some things. You probably have seen where they've marked off in the parking lot, so we're really excited about that. We kind of have a rough timeline. I think in October to November, they'll really start breaking the ground. We are hoping to, the least amount possible, disrupt service, and so having a timeline and working closely with the architect has been great, so that we make sure that we still provide as robust service as possible to our patrons. So we're really excited about it. That's it. We're trying to get the timeline. I think this winter is when it will probably really start. For everyone in here, it expands our children's library and gives us better parking and an elevator, which we're super excited about. Yeah, an ADA compliant, big, large elevator. Yes, that's really great for us.
I know on the timeline, is there an estimate of how long it will take overall?
They gave us a 1 year. They said they gave us a full year timeline, but they said it wouldn't take that long. Right.
So a year, so 18 months.
Correct. Yes. Okay. Yes. But that's it. That's our big news. We're preparing for fall break. We have an incredible amount of great free programs for children. We always love the breaks because then we get to see all the kids in the library, and that's very fun for us. And again, as Cindy said, they're all free. Everything's free, so please come, bring your kids, enjoy. We've got lots of fun stuff.
Anything on behalf of the branches?
Oh, you have a letter. Monterey Branch, I'm so glad you said it, thank you. Monterey Branch Friends of the Monterey Branch Library, they're having an open house, and they would love to invite you, everyone actually in the room, can go to that from 6 to 8 at the Monterey Branch Library. And it's just an opportunity to connect with that community, to see what they have to offer. The Monterey Branch is so great. If you haven't been, you should really go up to Monterey. It's wonderful. It's a great branch. So they're having that open house. That is September 30 from 6 to 8 p.m. I talked to Andrea Batson, who is in Allgood. And if you all don't know Andrea Batson, she is an incredible librarian, and she is just crushing it over there with her circulation numbers, and she's done incredible programming, so she's doing fantastic things. And then Matthew at our 10 this evening as well. Same thing, he's got a special relationship or collaboration really with the schools there. So he goes and does story time at the schools in Baxter, and has been also preparing for all of it. So,
awesome.
Yep, it's been great. Good. We're just, I'm on edge about this expansion. That'll be fine. Oh, people complain about parking. If anyone's noticed that.
Sure they don't.
Oh, just wait. I know. I'm anxiously awaiting those complaints.
Any further discussion with the director? Okay, moving to items 8. Matt.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'll be very brief, I promise. I passed out my report here for the trustees. What's taking most of our time and attention right now is we are 2 weeks out from our 2025 annual trustee workshop, which will be held at the Art Circle Library in Crossville. I invite you to attend. Our topic is very timely. We are going to be talking about advocacy and empowering our trustees to communicate with their local officials. So we will be leading up the morning with the State Librarian and Archivist Jamie Ritter talking about speaking with public officials. We'll have a trustee panel to talk about advocacy victories, and in the afternoon we're going to be doing some little bite-sized presentations on items that all trustees should have in their advocacy toolbox. And of course, lunch is provided by Grade A, so we're really excited. Yes, everybody loves the lunch. I have put a handy QR code here in your brochure. If you're able to attend, please let us know. You also can email me or let Catherine know. Having at least one trustee attend means Catherine can attend as well. And attendance at the trustee workshop, as always, could benefit your library towards future grants. So we put a lot of emphasis on that. I see Pat nodding. So
Yes.
I hope we can count on her.
I wanna get the grant.
Yes.
That's right. I will pick you up.
Otherwise, it is September. It's that time of year where we launched the Public Library Survey, where we ask all of our libraries to submit all of their statistics for the previous fiscal year. A lot of those do go up the chain to the Institute for Museum and Library Services. The expectation if you receive federal funding that you will provide these statistics on an annual basis. So that's keeping all of our directors busy right now. We love to give you busy work, absolutely. I will say it does look positive. Our state librarian has been paying close attention to what's going on with federal funding right now. As we know, we've had some questions about that several months back. It looks like at the moment, IMLS is being fully funded with its usual amount, so we should expect our federal funding to continue as it is. Otherwise, I believe that's all I have for you today. Thank you.
One year you're gonna have to hold the trustee shop here, right? Trustee
Yeah.
workshop. Once you have your big,
Yeah.
That's online. We're ready.
18 months.
That's right, 18 months.
The Friends reports.
So I typically give this report because we don't have a member of the Friends. We do. I don't want to necessarily put you on the spot, but you're welcome to speak, please, for the Friends.
Sure. We just had our annual fundraiser a couple of weeks ago, and it was a really fun event. Some of our sponsors are here in this room, and we're thankful for you. We're always excited about what's going on in the library, and I will say I'm excited about the community being as involved as they are on this issue. And I'm very thankful for the staff that we have here at the library and the knowledge and background that they have. But the Friends are a long-standing group, and we're still doing our thing. We're here to help and here to support.
We love our Friends group, sure.
Nice. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
I just have it. We just got out of the library board meeting, and unfortunately, while we were recording, our camera went down. We're not sure why, for Highlands Insider, but I did want to give a chance to all of our councilmen to be able to share. I'm sure they know and tell us the truth.
Well, I applaud the board, and I also applaud Dr. Rossner on her effort working with youth health and to come up with some kind of solution. Nobody came, but I know that is the narrative. But also having conflict, which is objective a group of parents, that having those split in there is actually taking the rights away from those parents. Just like banning a book would take the rights away from another person. So I think there's solutions out there that can be comprehensive, that would allow that content to be available, but let the parent and child have that conversation, whether or not that's appropriate. But I do appreciate that, their efforts and them listening to us.
Yes.
And I'm confident that there's going to be a solution to the problem.
Yes, and I do want to echo that. I think it was impressive. The amount of people that showed up today, it shows us that we do have unity in one thing. We all care about the library. And we want to make sure that we have access to books. But one thing that I think is important to note is there are a lot of different narratives, as you said. One being that people were saying books wanted to be banned, and I haven't talked to anyone that wants to ban books. And I think that it's also important to note that it's not a sexual identity or who you identify as situation. It's more about the content of the book. And I think that we can all
agree on common sense, and we know that there's a lot of different things going on.
Okay.
And we just wanna make sure that.
It was probably me.
And if you're a parent, and you do not agree with this viewpoint, we don't wanna take your right away either. You can check out as many books as you want to, that's why we don't want to. So is there things that you try to wrap down as you were speaking?
That's pretty much it. You know, it's you know, I grew up here at the library. Both of my parents were educators, so I benefited from having this library as a resource, and I want to continue to have this as a resource in our community.
So thank you for joining us today. Stay tuned. We will continue to bring you breaking news and updates as they occur, and we appreciate you, and we'll see you the next time.